The table's set with stories untold, whispers linger in the marrow's hold. A feast of shadows on porcelain white. Was it care or venom served that night? Did the dust of death fall by her hand, or fate's cruel twist in life's demand? Questions echo through the courtroom's air. Guilt or innocence, does she even care?
This beef Wellington, made with death cap mushrooms, foraged by Erin Patterson. That was part of the web of lies that she spun. Let's run through some of the other evidence. This is the receipt for a food dehydrator Patterson used for the mushrooms, despite telling police she never owned one. In fact, here's the CCTV of her dumping the food dehydrator in the days after the deadly lunch at the local rubbish tip. When police found it, they also found bits of death cap mushrooms on the trays. After the meal, all 4 of her guests fell ill with vomiting and diarrhoea. They were placed in induced comas. Erin Patterson turned up at hospital too, 2 days after the lunch, but panicked when staff started asking questions. She left after just 5 minutes. That set off alarm bells for doctors at Lee and Gatha Hospital. One of the doctors called emergency services.
Hello, what address do you need the police? This is Dr. Chris Webster calling from Lee and Gatha Hospital, and I have a concern regarding a patient that presented here who has left the building and is potentially exposed to a fatal toxin from mushroom poisoning, and I've tried several times to get hold of her on her mobile phone.
What's her name?
The last name is Patterson, Patterson.
First name?
Erin, Erin.
The doctor.
Hello and welcome back to this 3rd episode in the trilogy of the Erin Patterson murder mushroom trial, held here in the Supreme Court of Morwell in Melbourne, Victoria. Now, if you've seen parts 1 and 2, you will know that Erin was charged with 3 first-degree murder charges and 1 manslaughter charge, and was found guilty on all counts. So I dug a little bit deeper just to see what the sentencing guidelines in Victoria were for her and what we would expect from the sentencing in comparison to what the US has. So the legal sentencing guidelines in Victoria are as follows. Murder carries a maximum penalty of life imprisonment, which in Victoria means imprisonment for the rest of a person's natural life, obviously. But there is a presumption of setting a non-parole period of 30 years unless the court determines that such a term would not be in the interests of justice. So, what does that mean? Well, in Victoria, there is no life without parole sentence. So you get a life imprisonment sentence, and that is, the benchmark is set at 30 years. So Victoria abolished this mandatory life without parole and introduced this baseline to reflect the seriousness. But for a triple murder, you would think that there would be a little bit more of a sentence. Now, of course, the court will do a pre-sentencing report and consider all the factors, particularly the premeditation and the breach of trust. You know, having the family over, that was a massive breach of trust on her behalf. So many legal experts have actually speculated on what kind of sentence she will receive here in Victoria. She will almost certainly receive that 30-year non-parole period, but will the judge set it even higher, perhaps up to 37 years, given the heinous nature of this triple murder? We shall see. Of course, she will have the option to appeal within the 28 days, but most people are actually estimating that she'll probably get 33 to 37 years and be eligible to be released after that. But, and I do say but, she won't automatically get that 30-year sentence for each of the charges like she would if she was being tried in the US. So that doesn't happen in Australia. She will receive that single life sentence that will cover all three of the murder convictions. As I said, amounting to approximately the 33 to 37 years is the predicted outcome of what she will get as a sentencing here in Australia for this triple, almost quadruple first-degree murder charges. Doesn't seem fair, does it? So with that information, I thought I would dig a little deeper and see where she might actually end up, what correctional facility she will be going to after the sentencing. She's currently being held in Morwell, where the trial was held at the Supreme Court there, which is in country Victoria. And I'm pretty sure the facilities out there are completely different to where she's headed. So it's predicted that she will be joining quite a number of the widely reported and infamous female killers in Australia at the Dame Phyllis Frost Centre, which is in the city of Melbourne itself. And yes, she will be amongst some not so infamous people. Let's have a look. So, Kathleen Folbig. I didn't even know who she was until I looked it up. But this poor lady was convicted in 2003 of killing her 4 infant children. But in 2023, when there was new genetic evidence and new testing procedures, she was actually pardoned. She was wrongfully convicted and she was released after 20 years in prison. And it's one of Australia's most controversial cases. We might just take a look at that one later. But yes, so she was at this facility. And who else? Robin Lindbaum. Okay, so this lady was a former professional ice skater who turned a double murderer. She was convicted of soliciting the murder of her ex-partner and later convicted of another partner's violent murder. Her sentence? Life imprisonment. 30 years. With parole. Apparently known for her manipulative personality and for enlisting others to kill on her behalf. Admirable qualities. Penny George. Now this lady, this got me. She apparently unalived and dismembered her partner and attempted to dispose of his body in 2005. She claimed it was an accident. Okay, accidentally fell on the axe or the saw or whatever it was you used, the knife. Apparently she was found guilty of that though. Sentenced to 17 years and eligible for parole after 13. Yeah. No additional charges, no mutilation of a corpse, no nothing, no firearms charges, no lesser included, no additionals, nothing. Zip. And if my calculations are correct, she's probably out by now. Just saying. Now, Michelle Burgess, she too is at this centre, central figure in the contract killing of Caroline Matthews in 2001, along with her lover, Kevin Matthews. Planned and carried out the murder of his wife. Sentence, 30 years. Life. With parole. And Renee Lawrence, she too was held here briefly during her extradition. Now, Renee was a member of the Bali 9 drug smuggling ring, if you'll remember. And upon release from Indonesia, she's briefly held and processed at the mouthful Dame. It has been renamed too. Where is it? And I've lost it. Nope, not there. Dame. Oh, no. Where is it? Dame Phyllis Frost Centre. DPFC. All right. So.
The table set with stories untold, whispers linger in the marrow's hold. A feast of shadows on porcelain white. Was it Carol venom served that night? Did the dust of death fall by her hand, or fate's cruel twist in life's demand? Questions echo through the courtroom's air, guilt or